got Charlie in the neck. We got Charlie in the neck. Who's up next? We got Charlie in the neck.
I'm just really glad Charlie Kirk just got himself, because he's right. Empathy is dangerous to society. So no one should give a that he's dead.
The best part of this whole goddamn thing is that he is not martyr material, so his death will mean nothing. It will activate no one. It will impact few. It's just great.
Here's something that Charlie had regularly argued, and hard disagree on this one, man, but quote, I think it's worth it to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. That is a prudent deal. It is rational. So, hey, some gun deaths every year are worth it for Second Amendment rights. It's like, well, I mean, now you're one of those people.
So we've been talking about it, and I'm sure by now most of you are familiar. But if you currently go on social media or anywhere, you will see massive, widespread celebration of the assassination of Charlie Kirk by leftist and Democrat voters. They are gleeful, they are ecstatic, they are saying that he deserved it because he was X, Y, or Z. I don't know, he was a fascist, he was racist, he was transphobic, and all of those things simply disagreeing with the politics of the left apparently warrant you to lose your life. And the important distinction I want to make is that this is far from an isolated group of a small number of lunatics online, right? Because if you're logging on right now, wondering why it feels like so many people are saying it, I'm sure a lot of people you know personally are feeling exactly the same way. And you may ask, is this just anecdotal? Is it just confined to maybe I'm surrounded by a certain group of crazy people? The answer is, of course, no. This is indeed a mainstream belief on the modern left and of the voter base of the Democrat Party. It is not at all a small fringe minority to believe that assassination of people you don't like is okay and therefore justified because, after all, disagreeing with the political beliefs of a psychotic leftist apparently warrants that. As a matter of fact, as Charlie Kirk prophetically, in a sense, warned us about months ago, assassination culture was indeed spreading on the left. Apparently 48, and this is a couple months ago, 48% of liberals have said that it would be at least somewhat justified to murder Elon Musk. 55% said the same thing about Donald Trump. And this is important to remember, because you're currently going to see the Democrat Party and mainstream media try to distance themselves from all of it. You're hearing these vague, insincere calls about how political violence needs to stop in America. And of course, I'm sure they're going to react to this wide swath of their own supporters and say, oh, there's just a few crazy people out there. But that's what I want to make clear. No, that is not the case, right? We're not talking about a small band of unemployed losers living in their mom's basement in Portland, Oregon. These people are everywhere. They're widespread across the nation. It is literally half of the liberal Democratic voter base. Okay, so they're going to say, oh, you can't castigate the whole left for this. That's right. We can only castigate half of the entire left. I know that makes it so much better, right? And again, this is so important to keep in mind, because I would argue, as you go on social media right now, and everyone is noticing, right? Conservatives and normal people, frankly, can't help but notice, hey, wait a minute, there is like a lot of celebration and glorification of political violence on the left right now. What is going on? That we are essentially living right now in the third Red Scare of America. If you're not familiar with the Red Scares, you can research it. But we're basically talking about time periods in American history where the American public reacted to a belief that there are actually like communists living among us, right? They're anti-American infiltrators and subverters around us. And there's a little bit of this fear, this paranoia that like, hey, they might try to do something. They might be around. Are they working in the government, etc.? Well, the difference here with the third Red Scare is that it's not really based on conjecture or a theory. Like, we literally have the communists all around us openly saying it. It's extremely clear who they are because they're saying it publicly on social media. They're not coy about it. They're frankly pretty proud of that fact. And the trend you're starting to witness right now across America is, I would say today is a big day where the unemployment rate is going up because a lot of people, it turns out, are losing their jobs in some cases after saying these many such things on social media. And here's what I want to make clear. Again, we're not just talking about some small group of Antifa in the Northwest. These people are all over the country. They work in all different types of work, right? It's not just teachers. It's not just one thing or this. It's government officials. It's people in private sector. It's people in public sector. It frankly is a lot of people that you might even be neighbors with, right? All over the place. It turns out this widespread belief of leftists who support political violence, judging by the polls, judging by the number of people you see right now doing it and all the people in different sectors getting fired, that this is extremely, extremely common. The Democrat Party for years has never taken it seriously. They constantly make excuses for political violence, even today, where they're turning around blaming Donald Trump, not noticing the very ticking time bomb that they have brewed, that they have allowed to happen. And as it so turns out, we even have people in our own government in high-level positions like FEMA, the United States military and Department of Defense, and it turns out even Secret Service. That is right. This is how deep it goes, right? Secret Service agents who are meant to be protecting President Donald Trump and those around him, who infamously dropped the ball on July 13th, 2024. What would exactly shock anyone to find out even the red, I don't even want to call it the Red Scare because it's not based on a scare. The red reality, I guess, is even penetrating up there. Guys, I want to make this clear. Okay, I don't say any of this to try to fearmonger. I'm certainly not calling for any form of violence or like espionage against anyone or any crazy stuff. I just want people to understand the reality. Again, this is not a small mainstream fringe of people who are probably disconnected from your life, okay? Chances are, judging by the statistics, some point in your freaking daily life, the ordinary American probably runs into a person who feels exactly this way. That is how widespread this belief is in America. I don't have a solution to deal with it. All I can essentially sit here and tell you is that, well, I don't know. Maybe some of the past people in history who were demonized for feeling like this was a problem, right? Feeling like America might have been taken over by communists. I can think of a certain guy in the 1950s who was infamously known for setting up House committees on anti-American activity. Maybe these people had a point, right? I don't know. I don't think it's actually a complicated idea to say that if you're going out there publicly cheering for violence against people you disagree with, that's probably such a reprehensible position that ought to blacklist you from government work and most private sector work, at the very least, if not legal charges, because in many cases, incitement of violence, depending on exactly what you said, could even be against the law. Not a crazy opinion, but I want to run you through all of this here today. So that said, we'll just get into it. And again, if you don't believe the stats, back that up with a lot of examples I'm about to show you. Now, I'm not trying to go through literally every single example of people who have said things online, because we'd be here forever, and I'm just trying to show you an overall general trend. But I do want to show you a couple of the things I've come across, because again, it demonstrates how widespread this is. It's not refined to people in one state, one line of work, one characteristic. There's just a ton of leftists in this country who may even live around you, again, who believe these types of things, right? Political violence is okay if it goes towards people we disagree with. For one example here today, a chief officer for global learning at the Miami Country Day School was apparently caught in a comment section saying, quote, "He died, oh well, he ironically promoted gun usage, karma." Again, this is coming from a chief officer of learning at a school in Florida. So that's why, again, I say it's not just about blue states, right? Florida, this person is teaching and educating children, and that's what he said publicly. And he's far from alone. Now, that said, the good news here is that the guy was indeed fired, or AKA resigned from his role here, and that follows the exchange on social media. So in some cases, these people are rightfully getting fired, and good on the institutions for doing so. But, again, pretty deep, pretty widespread here. Another one out of Florida, Kelly Brock Sanchez of Ridgeview Elementary School was apparently suspended after saying, "This may not be the obituary we were all waking up to, or we're all hoping to wake up to, but it is a close second for me," essentially saying that I wish it was Donald Trump, but if not, Charlie Kirk is the next best thing. Again, teaching your children, elementary children, by the way, She's a bloodthirsty, crazy lunatic. She's celebrating the fact that a father of two with kids who are that age or about to be that age are now without their father, educating children. Yeah. Insane. Here's another one out of Greenville County, I believe, South Carolina. Okay. Same story, right? Placed on administrative leave after celebrating the murder of Charlie Kirk. Governor Ron DeSantis, in response to this widespread problem, you're just seeing countless cases nationwide. I only showed you 3 just to demonstrate that it's happening, right? Of public educators of your children also publicly cheering for political assassination of people who have children. Saying here that his administration in Florida Department of Education will be announcing investigations into every single teacher who celebrates Charlie Kirk and threatens, govern yourselves accordingly. Now, that should not be something that has to be said. It stands to reason that if you're working as a public school teacher, or if you're working, frankly, in any profession, or you're just a human being, it should not be something that you say, especially say publicly. It shouldn't even be something that you think. But to go out there on record with your name, with your identification, and say proudly, no, I support political assassination in this country, utterly crazy thing to say, okay? And frankly, if this was done, for instance, in the 1960s in response to the JFK assassination, I really wonder how the system would have responded back then, maybe even much more harshly than that, right? Than just firing you from your job. But nonetheless, quote, we will hold teachers who choose to make disgusting comments about the horrific assassination of Charlie Kirk accountable. Govern yourselves accordingly. And yes, it is indeed FAFO season. Now, I also have to beg the question as to why every Republican governor in this country outside of DeSantis has not all said unanimously the exact same thing. Like, it should be a public memo to everyone. Hey, you're going to be fired. You're going to be terminated without benefits. You may even face lawsuits, by the way, because I think that's a legitimate place to go with all of this. It's not okay. And frankly, forget even the red states, why they're not following through, having their Department of Education formally announce a task force against this. It should be every governor in America. You know why? Because I was told by every Democrat governor yesterday, they felt the exact same way. We're against political violence. It's unacceptable. We don't support this. We don't stand for this. Okay. So Democrat governors, are you going to create punishments for your public employees who say the opposite, right? Because it is 100% a fireable offense. That ought to be the litmus test, by the way, of whether or not these people are serious, right? Will Governor Tim Walz, will Gavin Newsom, will J.B. Pritzker, will any of these clowns go out and publicly say, if you remotely celebrate the death of Charlie Kirk as an employee of my state, you will be fired? I'm going to guess there the answer is no. Because as I tried to point out, I truly believe a lot of the Democrat reactions yesterday were completely and totally insincere. But again, it doesn't stop there. This guy was the VP of the Human Rights Commission in the city of Muncie, Indiana, right? I don't know a lot about Muncie, Indiana, but you would think Indiana, right? Not a lot of liberals there. No, as I said, this is everywhere. This is not a singular issue, right? He reportedly posted this celebrating Charlie Kirk's death and is hoping for even more assassinations. He works for the city government there and specifically is the vice president of the Human Rights Commission. Oh, how ironic. How ironic. I just have no explanation for that. But, there you go. Turns out as well, the Carolina Panthers, the NFL team, have fired their communications coordinator after he celebrated the assassination of Charlie Kirk on social media. So here's another one. Carolina Panthers, right? So you may think, right? Okay, liberal professions typically tend to be like public sector jobs. So school teachers, as deranged as it is that they're teaching the children, maybe that's to be expected to see a lot of them fired. Same thing with Human Rights Commission, city government style posts. Here's another one in the private sector. There's plenty more in the private sector, by the way. Again, this is everywhere. So there's the news out of Miami. This person is a wealth manager, works in private equity, ironically, in Norristown, Pennsylvania. Another one who celebrated it, right? Saying Charlie Kirk was a Nazi who wanted a brutal world with anyone who was considered an other dead. That's, by the way, not true at all. Okay, he never once said this, but let's make up your political positions on your behalf and then justify as to why that you could be killed because of that, because you believe something that you didn't believe. We're going to put words in your mouth and we're going to kill you based on your words, and then we're going to say it was justified. That is literally the belief of 50% of the leftists in America. Not 10%, not 5%. 50%. Okay? You're talking about at least half of the freaking people who voted for Kamala Harris, who are probably supporting the Democrat Party and the DNC and all this garbage, showing up to the Tim Walz rally. 50%. Just keep that in mind. You know, if that is not something to, I guess, make you rethink certain issues in this country, I don't know. I'm just letting you know the fact here. That is 50%, one half. Okay, if you run into a liberal person in this country, there's a 50% chance they support the political assassination of people like you, as a statement of fact. So no, it's not all leftists. It's not all people on the left. It's only 50% of them. It's only half of them, right? Makes you feel so much better, doesn't it? Here's another one out of Phoenix Sports. This news outlet has parted ways with a writer who wrote a whole thread mocking and justifying the murder of Charlie Kirk. Again, the unemployment line today getting really, really long. This person said that political differences are not the same thing as spewing hateful rhetoric on a daily basis. So keep that in mind. They just keep on saying this, right? They have this totally arbitrary, subjective line on what a political difference is and what hateful rhetoric is, and then therefore, if you spew hateful rhetoric, you can be killed, right? Now, I don't condone this. I'm not supporting this, but I don't know if these people are self-aware that that exact logic could be used in the reverse, right? Because you can just subjectively define what's hateful, what's violating human rights. Well, I'm just going to draw this arbitrary line, and therefore everyone who goes past that line, it's okay to apparently take their life. I mean, it's just total lack of self-awareness, total, like, frankly, it makes you question, like, oh, that's like half of the electorate in this country who views things that way, and we have like this democracy. Okay, whatever. I'm just saying, right? So, you know, there you have it. Apparently he's going on here to say it's okay because he disagreed with the stances on gun control, therefore he wanted children to die. Also not true. And then further, you know, is going on here and now he's out of a job. So there you go. At least some things sometimes are right. Sometimes people do face consequences. A lot of these people are not, okay? But, you know, we'll see what happens. There's many more cases, by the way, of healthcare workers doing the exact same thing, right? This person here is a nurse saying, quote, he got the day he deserved. And I saw actually several videos of this, of different nurses, different people in healthcare doing this. And it really makes you have to question, would you trust those people to save your life, right? They're working in healthcare. Right? One of the freaking the Hippocratic oath they have to take is basically, I'm going to treat all patients the same. And, you know, no matter what, I'm going to try to save their life. And then ironically, people who are tasked to do that very job go out and celebrate the assassination of people they disagree with. Yeah, it doesn't make you feel great about your next time at the emergency room, right? But again, these people are everywhere. Here's another one who is a suicide prevention coordinator for the Colorado Department of Health. Okay, a suicide prevention The irony is just like way out here, okay? So you have people in healthcare saying, yes, we support death. Suicide prevention, apparently they also support death. And there they are, yes, similarly, justifying the killing of Charlie Kirk. So there you have it. There's another one who works in the Jacksonville, Florida city government. This person apparently has not yet been fired. Okay, this is a public official. When you spew hate, it's what you get back. Charlie spewed nothing but hate, so he got back was, yeah. Again, I don't support it. I'm not calling for it. But this logic, I don't know if these people are just too dumb, like they don't understand second and third hand consequences, I guess. But this logic literally, if done in the reverse, they would not like it, right? That's why it's just genuinely an insane thing to say that it's okay to kill people that you disagree with, okay? Many more cases. I'm seeing this everywhere. I'm not in school anymore, but people are telling me all over the place that in high schools, middle schools, public schools, colleges, everywhere, the teachers are basically all unanimously getting together and talking about how amazing it is that he died. And you guys can share your stories about that in the comment section down below. But yeah, it does seem to me fair enough that this thing's pretty widespread.
What I want to say about Charlie is that he and I had numerous disagreements. I'm a woman who's married to a woman. And despite that, he invited me on his podcast. He had me speak at his Turning Point event. He platformed me. He retweeted me. This is a guy that was willing to engage in debate to resolve disagreements. And the fact that I am seeing celebration, and I'm not going to point fingers. I'm not going to make this about any red, blue. I don't want to be divisive here, but this is disgusting. I got a tweet from my daughter today. I'm not thinking clearly. I got a text from my daughter today telling me that kids at her school were celebrating. Okay, at my daughter's high school. Something is wrong in this country. The divisiveness, the rhetoric, the othering has got to stop.
But now here is where the Red Scare gets very serious, because these people also work in the federal government and specifically the military. I mean, here's just, one example of a guy in military uniform, total violation of all laws around this, by the way, but, just laughing about it, saying, oh, the irony, haha, that's so funny. This is, of course, a guy working in a profession while he carries guns, by the way. I don't know, that might be a little bit problematic, but there you have it. Here's another one who said the following, quote, another racist man popped. Celebrating it, right? Very happy about it, doing a beer clang, right? This person is a officer in the U.S. Marines. These people are in our military. Again, the infiltration here, the subversion within the institutions of our country by, the Reds of today is everywhere. And as I said, it's not hard to know because they're saying it publicly and proudly. They don't seem to care very much, right? Here's another one. You have this guy here who is employed as a data analyst with FEMA. FEMA is, of course, an agency ran by DHS, the Department of Homeland Security. He posted yesterday on Instagram, quote, half-mast for the literal racist, homophobe, misogynist, be for real. This was his response to Charlie Kirk being assassinated. So you think about the failures we've seen thus far with FEMA. The total lack of response under the Biden administration to do anything suitable for the survivors of Hurricane Helene. And after all, if you're in a disaster situation, you know very well, FEMA coordinators kind of have, in a sense, right, their lives in your hands. Like, they have to come in and help you. And with all the accusations you've heard throughout the years that, FEMA would not help houses, for instance, with Trump flags, they purposely neglected rural North Carolina for political reasons, all of these different things. Well, here's what you have going on in FEMA, right? People are fine with the, or defending or rationalizing the assassination of conservative figures. Turns out it's not that much of a conspiracy theory, right? They're in FEMA. They're in the military. What if I also told you what if I also told you here that they're in the U.S. Secret Service? You can see from Nick Sortora, a current Secret Service agent has been caught publicly stating that Charlie Kirk deserved to be killed, according to a report here from Real Clear Politics. You can see. He went on to state that if you're mourning this guy, delete me. He spewed hate and racism on his show, especially when we should be mourning the innocent children killed in Colorado. At the end of the day, you answer to God and speak things into existence. You can only circumvent karma. She doesn't leave. This guy works in the job to protect President Trump, apparently. Now you go back, you think about Butler, Pennsylvania, you think about West Palm Beach as well, the second attempt that wasn't as successful, but very shady that it still managed to happen. You look, frankly, even currently, to the fact that the FBI still can't find this guy. I have a lot more questions now, right? Because for every one person in these agencies that says it publicly, how many 50 to 100 others feel it privately, but they're just a little smarter? They just understand digital literacy a little better, and they're like, yeah, I'm not going to say it, but I feel the same exact way. As I said, this is why it's like the third Red Scare, because people are realizing to a degree, maybe they didn't even see, or wasn't even like that back in the 1920s, back in the 1950s, but it is like that now. This is everywhere, okay? And these people could be at a point at some time in your life where they need to save your life because you're in the ER. They need to help you, save you from a flood because they're in FEMA, right? They are the people teaching your children, you know? Many other examples, I don't know. They just could be your coworker or something. Everywhere. Here's another one who works at the Department of War. She said, "Oh no, whatever shall we do without his incessant misogyny, racism, and hatefulness?" Now, interestingly, she went on here to do an edit, but instead of taking it back or just deleting the comment, her edit here is that, "I apologize that so many of you misconstrued my statement as a call to violence or representation of the Department of Defense. These views are not representative of the Department of Defense. These views just state what supply we are losing with the passing of conservative Charlie Kirk." So she didn't take it back. She said it was fine, right? She just simply was saying to her employer, right, that it's not representative of my employer. Yeah, okay. Again, just complete and total brazen disregard. Okay, this person is like shouting in your face, yeah, I work for the DOD. Yeah, I'm involved in the freaking Pentagon and the military. What are you going to do about it? Well, I guess that question is up to the Department of Defense in terms of what they want to do about it. You know? So there you have it. Other cases too. I've seen a lot of other leftists are now threatening to go after more conservative podcast hosts. So, you know, Matt Walsh is pointing that out, many others. I ask that you keep us all in our safety in your prayers. But, you know, I don't know what else to say. This is a situation we have, right? Again, very widespread, very prominent. Glad to see some of these people are being fired. Others, it's taking longer. But frankly, I don't know if that's enough, right? There has to be a real systemic way to root out these ideas from society, and I can't answer you exactly what that is, but it's a very big wake-up call, frankly, for this country, right? And for the right wing in this country. Not just that Charlie Kirk was shot, which was big enough of a turning point, you know, ironic use of word, but true enough, right? But further to see the reaction and see how many of your fellow quote-unquote countrymen, who again are your neighbors, your colleagues, your coworkers, actually feel about it. And it's a comment about something, I don't know, in this country, right? That's how it goes. But anyways, that said, let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section down below. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and until next time, God bless and peace.